Today, we're going to talk about an invention so crucial that our modern world just couldn't exist without it. And I'm willing to bet it's not the one that just popped into your head. All right, quick thought experiment for you. If I asked you, what's the most important invention ever, what's your go-to answer? Is it fire? Maybe the wheel. Writing for sure is up there. And yeah, those are all amazing, world-changing answers. But the hero of this story, well, it's a little more humble. It's something you use every single day, but probably never give a second thought to. You guessed it, we're talking about the toilet. And believe it or not, the story of how we deal with our own waste is basically the story of civilization. The whole problem really kicked off the second we stopped wandering around and decided to settle down. Think about it. For most of our history, we were nomads, right? When you had to go, you just went. The group would move on and nature would take care of it. But then everything changed with agriculture. We started building villages, which grew into towns and then massive cities. And all of a sudden, our waste wasn't being left behind. It was staying right there with us, piling up and becoming a huge, stinking problem.
So what did our ancestors do? Well, some of their early ideas were actually pretty brilliant. But here's the crazy part. For a really long time, humanity actually went backwards. We got worse at dealing with this, not better.
You know, some of the earliest civilizations had some smart ideas. The Sumerians had these ceramic-lined pits, and you see similar stuff in ancient Greece and Egypt. But the undisputed, heavyweight champions of ancient sanitation had to be the Romans. I mean, they didn't just build toilets. They engineered a whole system for the entire city. They were called foricae. These were huge public bathrooms, sometimes with dozens of seats all lined up in a row. But the real magic was the engineering. Underneath all those seats was a continuous stream of flowing water, washing everything away into one of the marvels of the ancient world. Rome's incredible sewer system, the Cloaca Maxima. But actually using one of these things, wow, that was an experience. First off, forget privacy. No stalls, no partitions, nothing. It was totally normal to just sit there and chat with your neighbor or catch up on the latest gossip. And when you were done, get this, they used a shared sponge on a stick. Yep, you heard me, shared. And if that wasn't enough, it was kind of dangerous. There are stories of rats and other nasty things crawling up from the sewer right below you. Yikes. So when the Roman Empire fell, sanitation technology just fell off a cliff. Think about the contrast. The Romans had this incredible public works project with water-flushed sewers. Fast forward to the Middle Ages, and the height of technology was basically a hole in a castle wall that emptied straight into the moat below. A huge step backwards. And this design wasn't just gross, it was a massive security flaw. I love this story. Back in 1204, some English soldiers actually captured a whole fortress, Chateau Gaillard, by sending a couple of, let's say, extremely dedicated soldiers up the toilet chute to unlock the gates from the inside. You can't make this stuff up. So this long decline in sanitation, it was building towards something, a breaking point. And the place where it all came to a head in the most disgusting way possible was the biggest city on the planet at the time, 19th century London. The year is 1858. It's a blisteringly hot summer with almost no wind. And this heat takes London's simmering sanitation problem and turns it into an absolute nightmare, an event that goes down in history as the Great Stink. But look, the terrible smell? That was just a symptom of a much deadlier problem. Because in the years leading up to this, the city had already been smashed by 3 huge cholera outbreaks. And the cost? It was just staggering. We're talking over 30,000 deaths just from cholera. The city was literally teetering on the edge of collapse. So what was going on? The problem was actually horrifyingly simple. Londoners were dumping everything, and I mean everything, straight into the River Thames. And then they were using that exact same river as their main source of drinking water. They were literally drinking from their own toilet. By the summer of 1858, the stink got so bad that the politicians in Parliament, which is right there on the river, couldn't even work. They had to do something, and fast. They needed a hero, and they found one in a brilliant civil engineer who was tasked with solving what seemed like an impossible problem. His name was Sir Joseph Bazalgette, and it's so fitting that if you walk along the Thames today, you can still find a statue honoring him. This is the guy who, you could argue, did more to save London than any king, queen, or general in its history. His plan was just genius. It was massive, but the idea was simple. Step 1, build huge new sewers to intercept all the waste before it could even get to the river. Step 2, use the power of gravity. These new tunnels were built with a slight downward slope, carrying all the sewage east, away from the city. If they hit a low spot, no problem. Giant steam-powered pumps would lift it back up so it could keep flowing. And the final step? Dump everything way, way downstream from London, letting the river's own current just carry it all out to sea. Brilliant. And the results were instant. The Great Stink? Gone. But way more importantly, the cholera epidemics that had been killing thousands of people for decades, they just stopped. Practically overnight. Baselget's sewers didn't just clean up the city, they saved it. They made it possible for London to become the first modern megacity we'd recognize today. It's such an amazing story of human ingenuity, right? A huge crisis solved by a brilliant idea. But here's the sobering part. That problem might have been solved for London, but for a huge part of the world, it's not solved at all. And that really gets to the heart of it. The stakes are so high. You have to understand, everything about our modern lives, our giant cities, our industries, everything, it's all built on a foundation of good sanitation. You take that away and progress just grinds to a halt. And yet, right now, today, a third of all people on this planet, we're talking billions of people, do not have access to safe sanitation. They're living through the exact same crisis that London figured out how to solve more than a century and a half ago. And the consequences are just as deadly now as they were then. Just look at the numbers from 2019. Poor sanitation and dirty water killed 1.4 million people. That's not over decades, that's in one single year. So for billions of our fellow humans, the Great Stink isn't some quirky story from a history book. It's what they live with every single day. The fear of diseases like cholera isn't a chapter in a textbook. It's a real, constant, terrifying part of their life. And all of this brings us to one last really important question. Most of us think of a flushing toilet as just a nice convenience, right? A part of modern life. But when you really look at the history, when you see how this one invention allowed our cities to exist, how it stopped plagues in their tracks, how it's literally the foundation of modern society, doesn't that change things? Maybe it's time we stop seeing it as a comfort and start seeing it for what it really is, a fundamental human right.